Right, let's continue observing Child Protection Week. The Commission for Gender Equality is advocating for greater protection of children from domestic violence. It wants government to ensure safe houses have enough space to accommodate victims of domestic violence and their children. Let's discuss this with the Commission's Chair, Tamara Mathebula. Thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Now, firstly, the Commission did have an investigation done into these safe homes last year. What was found? All right. I think we'll go back to Tamara Mathebula. I don't think she realizes that she's muted herself. While we sort that out, let's take you to a short break. When we return, all right, I'm told she is back. Tamara Mathebula of the Commission for Gender Equality. So last year, the Commission actually had investigation into these, homes to protect the vulnerable. What was found?
Yes, good morning to you and good morning to your viewers out there. Thank you for having me this morning. Yes, the Commission for Gender Equality did investigation in the shelters, and our report is called State of the Shelters in South Africa. And basically, we were quite interested in looking at the state of shelters, and this was based on a complaint that was raised by quite a number of people that have been admitted into these safe houses over a period. And we then used our powers that we take from the CGE Act 1996, number 39, which actually gives us the powers to investigate any gender-related matters out of our own accord. So we did that last year, and we released the report. And one of the findings in that report basically is that, there weren't enough shelters as well as the Thuthuzela care centers in South Africa. For an example, if you look at the Thuthuzela care centers, we only have 51 Thuthuzela care centers in the entire country since 1996. And we are aware that the numbers of gender-based violence and domestic violence are escalating every time, every day. So these centers are not enough. The shelters are not enough as well. And the shelters are not also accommodating other groups, women, that are victims of gender-based violence. Children in particular are not accommodated in these shelters, not to mention persons with disabilities as well as members of the LGBTI communities. But what was also most striking was to actually see that these Thuthuzela care centers, as well as which are supposed to be one-stop shops, were not providing the services, a basket of services that they were supposed to provide. But most importantly, both the Thuthuzela care centers as well as the shelters in South Africa were not receiving enough funding to provide for the needs of both children as well as women that run away from a situation at home. So those were our key findings. There are other findings in terms of, following a policy or a guide on how to run these centers, but also making sure that the staff in those centers are properly trained to look after victims of gender-based violence, as they are not supposed to cause secondary victimization whilst looking after them at the same time.
So we've also seen, for instance, child-headed households where in some communities, community members step in. We always hear government saying that it's not only government that can sort out the abuse against children and the abuse against women. And there are some, neighbors who will step in when they see children being alone at home. How can they be supported?
Absolutely correct. Yes, I think we have observed this, especially in rural areas where there is still that kind of caring to say that, there's no child that can actually go hungry, or there can't be any child-headed household if there are still neighbors that still care and support. So that's why we are calling the Commission for Gender Equality is calling not only government, but we are also calling the communities to continue, because these shelters, as well as the Thuthuzela care centers, are mostly in urban areas and not in rural areas. So we are calling everyone, we are calling families to take care of their family relatives that have passed away, to take care of their children, but also, neighbors in rural areas. So the support that we can actually advocate for is with the social development, for an example, to actually look at the fact that there are still some families and mothers that will take children that have lost a parent or both parents under their wing, and they must actually get the grant, the social grant, to actually assist them to be able to feed these children, to take them to school, to buy uniforms, and to make sure that they are cared for psychologically, physically, and socially.
All right. Tamara Mathebula, thank you very much. She's the chair for the Commission of Gender Equality. Let's take